Okay, so to continue with the Lubavitcher Rebbe's memoirs, just very briefly, we're discussing about Boruch, the Alter Rebbe's father, who was orphaned at 14, wandered for 3 years, at 17 got engaged, met his brother-in-law, who's a follower of the Baal Shem Tov, and he doesn't know it, and now he's starting to get closer to the mystic. So now we get to a really interesting part where we find out, how does someone become a mystic? Like, how did this happen? This is before the time of the Baal Shem Tov, even though there were 3 Baal Shems before the Baal Shem Tov. There was Eliyahu Baal Shem, Yoel Baal Shem, and Adam Baal Shem, but they weren't organized. It wasn't like well organized. People were just loosely, affiliated. And now we're going to find out, how do you become a mystic? Like, how does this happen? And what do these guys actually do? So Baruch went to Yanovich to meet Zalman Chaim, the Shamish of Yanovich, but he was gone. But in his place was Avrohom Yitzchak, the Mordechai the miller's 3rd son, and he sees how a remarkable person he is, so he befriends him, because Zalman Chaim's not there. He befriends him and says, tell me your story. Like, what's going on here? How did you become the way you are? And he says, okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. He said, well, my father was a mystic. My father, Dovid Leib, was a mystic, but he was a hidden tzaddik. He was a cobbler. And no one knew about it. And that really bothered me. He said, I'll be honest with you, that really bothered me. My father was this great, amazing person who did wonderful things and was very learned. But I grew up him pretending that he was just a simple, unlearned person. And it was really hard for me. And he says, but let me tell you, how did my father end up becoming a mystic? Well, his father, Tzvi Aryeh, was the Dayan of Minsk. Now, Minsk was the really major place of Torah learning at that time. So to be the Dayan of Minsk was a really big deal. So he had a son, Dovid Leib, and he would not let him study mysticism. And when he got old enough to get married, you could imagine a lot of people wanted him to be their son-in-law. So a very wealthy person in Vitebsk, Chaim of Vitebsk, he was just a regular citizen, said, if you marry my daughter, I'll support you for 8 years. 8 years, all expense paid. You can live in the house. Everything will be provided. So, okay, shidduch, he goes to live with him. And he really wants to learn mysticism, but he doesn't have anyone to teach it to. So he starts sort of learning on his own. And he says, I'm not really understanding this. Let me study ethics. So he starts studying books of ethics on his own, and he really gets turned on by the ethics. And he realizes by reading these books, you know what? I don't want to be a rabbi like my father. I don't want to get all this honor, and I don't want to be so distant from the people. And he says, this really isn't for me. I'm learning these books, and this is not really the proper way of serving God. So he decides that he does not want to become a rabbi. And when his in-laws hear this, they are furious. They're like, what? We didn't pay for you to come here and be supported for 8 years, and we didn't arrange for you to marry our daughter, for you not to be a rabbi. I mean, we want you to be a big rabbi like your father. And he's like, I don't really want to do that. So now they are tormenting him endlessly. And he's like, look, if you don't like it, I can divorce your daughter. And they're like, yeah, divorce her. We don't want this. She's like, no. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I want to be married to him. I like him. Whatever he wants, I'm going to do. So they have one kid, and they have another kid. They have a girl, and they have a boy. And he doesn't have any parnasa, and he doesn't want to be a rabbi. Now they're losing it. And they're just saying, you are such an embarrassment. He says, don't, listen, I've got it covered. I've been secretly training to be a cobbler. And I found a place where I can cobble just outside of town. And you know what? I can support the family. They're like, a cobbler? If we wanted her to marry a cobbler, we could have just saved us a lot of money, and we could have found a cobbler if we wanted to marry a cobbler. So now they're really at it. They're going at it. And they say, you know what? We want your father to come here. We want to talk to your father. So Minsk is sort of far away from Vitebsk, and Dovid Leib hasn't seen his father for like 8 years. The 8 years are up. So they arrange for the Dayan of Minsk to come. Now this is a big deal. So the whole town is getting prepared, and the train is going to take him there. I don't think it was actually a train, but anyways, there's stops along the way. There's a welcoming committee. So he says, I have to catch my father before he gets here and tell him what's going on. So he goes to a station, meets his father. His father completely does not recognize him. Now he's much older, he has a beard, and he meets his father. He doesn't tell him who he is, and they start talking Torah, and his father's extremely impressed with who he is. And then he says, look, I want to let you know why you're coming to visit. The reason why you're coming to visit is because my in-laws are absolutely furious with me that I am not going to be a rabbi and I want to be a cobbler. But I want to tell you why I want to be a cobbler. I've been learning these books of ethics, and I think the best way to serve Hashem is to be a simple person who could be and not get all this honor and be closer to people and help people out. And his father says, you know what you're doing is very good. I'm very proud of you. I've got your back. When we go there, I'm gonna go up to bat for you. So they go there, they meet. The family is absolutely furious. Tell your son the foolishness he's doing. He could be a big rabbi like you. He's a genius. We paid all this money. We made this shidduch under the condition that he was going to be a rabbi. Now we feel like, they're reneging. And he says, no, what my son is doing is right. You shouldn't be ashamed. They're Tanayim and our Marayim who did this. And they realized that things are not going to go anywhere. And they said, okay, fine. He can live here a little bit longer, but he definitely cannot be a cobbler, in this town. He's an embarrassment. Like, we're humiliated for our daughter to be marrying a cobbler. So his father stays for a while and starts teaching him mysticism. And he says, you know what, I really can't deal with living in the same roof of them. I'm an embarrassment to them. So they decide to leave and go to the town of Hatinka and move. He's able to find a place there to work. He gets a cobbler shop, and he's super happy. They're wonderful people, very simple, very unlearned, but he really likes the people there, and he does everything he can to help them out. But while he's there, he really wants to meet mystics. So he's looking around to see if he can find mystics, and he builds a guest house in his home where mystics could stay with him, and he's trying to find them out. And he says, I think I know someone who's a mystic. And there's this one guy who comes to Hatinka periodically, and he's the red-haired Cohen. So what does this red-haired Cohen do? He's a very jolly person. He laughs a lot. He plays with the children. He tells them, lots and lots of stories. All these hidden tzaddiks tell lots of stories. And he gives the kids candies. He has them make brachas. He reviews their schoolwork with them. He sings with them. And everybody thinks he's just like, just a childless person. And they don't know why he comes to town. But he realizes that this guy is probably a mystic. But the one thing that bothers him is when he comes to town, he hangs out with Shmerel. Now, Shmerel is a really no good for nothing, and there's a lot of nicknames for Shmerel. He's Shmerel the Idler, Shmerel the Stargazer, Shmerel the Yawner, and he says, well, this guy, I'm not sure if he's a tzaddik because he hangs around with this guy Shmerel, and this guy Shmerel is really a disappointment. So, Shmerel the Idler is pretty much the same way. He tells lots of stories, and he tries to get people to behave better. And he sort of takes it one step further. Like, why is he the idler? He's the idler so he can help people. When a woman gives birth, there's really no one to help her because the husbands, they have to work so hard that there's no one to cook, chop wood, boil water, watch the kids or whatnot. So he really, every time a woman gives birth, he takes care of her. And every time someone is in need, he takes care of them. And he gives people hizuk and whatnot, but he doesn't realize he's a mystic until something happens. There's a fire in Hatinka, and there's a lot of fires in this book. Dovid Leib's house burns down, so he has to rent a place until he can rebuild, and he happens to rent a place in the crummy area where Shmera lives, because Shmera lives in a really beat up place. He stays late one night at Shul to learn, and on the way home, he walks past his house and he hears his davening, and he looks through the window and he sees how he's davening, and he realizes that this guy is really a hidden tzaddik. So he really wants to meet up with them. And he sees that the red-haired Cohen and Shmerel leave town, and he follows them and he stops them. He says, I really need to talk to you. I really need to talk to you. And he says, I know you're hidden tzaddiks, and I want you to take me in, and I want you to teach me. And it's a very emotional scene. He's crying. He's been praying to God for this. And they say, you're right. We are mystics. We'll take you in and we'll teach you. So now the three of them are hidden tzaddikim together. When his son gets 9, there's really no yeshiva there for him to learn properly. So they move to Kalishk. And now Dovid Leib is a much more prominent person now, and he's actually the head of the tzaddikim in this area. And now he's teaching his son mysticism. And Dovid Leib, if there's anyone who doesn't have money for shoes, he'll make shoes for free, and he'll have his son drop them off secretly. If someone doesn't have money, he'll try to arrange for them to have money and whatnot. So now he is raising his son in this way. And when his son gets old enough to get married, the red-haired Cohen and Zalman Chaim arrange a shidduch between him and Mordechai the miller's third daughter, and then he replaces Zalman Chaim. And now we're going to see how Boruch now starts meeting more mystics. But what we see is, what is a mystic? A mystic is someone who just really cares a lot about other people, who helps out other people, who spends time with children, who gives them chizuk. This is really what the hidden tzaddikim did. They weren't people who were doing, miracles and giving brachas and walking through walls and showing their great Torah learning. And we're going to learn more about that in the future.